Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heidi and my channel is My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film my June wrap-up, TBR talk, and book haul. And I'm gonna try to be quick because it is super hot up here in my library, and it's hot everywhere. Who am I kidding? It's just hot, and I'm sweaty, and yeah, let's just keep this brief if we can. So in June, I read 11 books total, and 6 of those were nonfiction. And of those nonfiction, 3 of them were for the BookTube Prize. I'm judging nonfiction this round. And 5 of them were fiction. So that was pretty good. It wasn't as good as in May, but I still feel like 11 books is plenty to read in 1 month. So I was pretty pleased with that. There are 3 books that I haven't talked about that I read in June. I haven't talked about them in any other videos, so I just wanted to briefly mention them here. And the first one was a memoir that I listened to on an audiobook, and that's Heavy by Kiese, Laymon. And this is his memoir of basically his growing up years and how he has dealt with trauma in his life. It delves really deeply into different traumatic events that he experiences and how he deals with those traumas. Especially, he deals with an eating disorder. And I thought that part was really, really fascinating because you don't often hear about men who are dealing with eating disorders. He goes through a period where he's basically anorexic. I would say he was anorexic. And then he goes through periods where he gains a lot of weight. And he suffers from depression and anxiety. And lots of different things, and he just deals with it very openly and honestly. I thought it was an excellent memoir. I really, really loved it on audiobook. He reads it himself. It talks a lot about racial issues of racial justice and how he's been discriminated against in his education and in his career. Some things that just blew me away, like, for example, he was kicked out of college for not checking out a library book. He walked out of the library with a book and didn't check it out, and they kicked him out of the college for that. Now, I can't in my wildest imaginings imagine any college doing that to a white kid. Can you? So yeah, it was really, really amazing. And I don't know if I ever mentioned that Kiese Laymon is a Black American. So you can imagine the kind of discrimination that he has dealt with in his life. Excellent memoir, highly recommend on audiobook, but it does have a lot of traumatic, he deals with a lot of trauma, and so just be aware of that if it's something that bothers you. And then the other 2 books that I finished in June that I haven't mentioned yet are 2 romance novellas. And one was Once Ghosted, Twice Shy. And I didn't write down the author's name, and I'm totally blanking it. So I'm going to put the cover up here. Alyssa Cole, thank you. Jeez, Alyssa Cole is the author of that, and that's part of her Reluctant Royals series. And this one, I don't remember the characters' names because it's been weeks ago since I read it. I listened to it on audiobook. It's an FF romance between 2 characters that were introduced in the first book in the series. One is the prince from the first story, his like basically right-hand woman, and a young woman that she dates for a brief time while she's in New York City. And they have gone their separate ways after a couple of dates, and now they have unexpectedly found themselves, by accident, they happen to meet each other on the subway like 6 months or a year later. And the whole novella takes place in one day. And while it was a good story, it wasn't great for me because it deals with a trope that I find incredibly, incredibly frustrating, and that is when the 2 characters there's one issue between the characters that could be dealt with an honest conversation. And on purpose, one of the characters refuses to have that conversation, and instead, this push-pull continues throughout the course of the story, all because the characters refuse to talk about the elephant in the room. And it reminds me of a saying that Amanda over at Book Riot says on the podcast, Get Booked. A lot of times when she's frustrated with that particular thing that happens in romance novels, she says, use your face words. And I wanted to say that. I was basically screaming that at my car radio throughout listening to that book. So not entirely successful, but it was I mean, I liked the story, but that part of it was frustrating. And then I also listened to The Governess Affair by Courtney Milan, and that was another novella in, I don't remember the series name, but again, I'll put the cover up here. And that one was much more successful for me because I felt like the story was very tightly told. The author kept the focus kept the focus narrowly on our main characters, our hero and heroine, and that really helped keep you engaged in the story and kept the action moving right along. And I really enjoyed that one as well. So that was everything that I read in June. And now I want to show you my balance sheet. You know, I've been trying to reduce my TBR, and you can see here, let's see if we get a good angle. Here's June. I read 3 books off my physical shelves in June. I brought 2 new books in. Didn't unhaul any unread, so that's a -1 for me off the TBR shelves. So that puts me down at 139 for the year when I started at 147. So woohoo, go me. I am pretty pleased with that. I read a lot of stuff off Scribd and my library last month, so let's hope that this month I can get some more things read off my physical TBR shelves. So as far as new books that I brought into my home in the month of June, there were only 2. So that is pretty good as well. I picked up a copy of The Orchid Thief by Susan Orlean. This is a nonfiction book that basically tells a tale of one person's possibly criminal pursuit of an endangered flower. Determined to clone the rare ghost orchid, John LaRoche leads Orlean on an unforgettable tour of America's strange flower-selling subculture, along with the Seminole Indians who help him and the forces of justice who fight them. So this is one of these sort of adventure fiction books that I've never read any Susan Orlean before, but I've heard really good things. And so when I saw this book for really cheap, I figured I'd pick it up. And then I picked up A Woman of No Importance, The Untold Story of the American Spy Who Helped Win World War II by Sonia Purnell. And this book I need to read for the BookTube Prize. So this one's in my group for this time around. So I'll be reading this one in July. And I'm also going to be reading this one in July because it fulfills a prompt for the summer school readathon that I'm participating in July. So both of these books I plan to read in July, which would be great because it will get them right back off my TBR count immediately. So that's the kind of in and out that I'm looking for right now. So that's it. That's my month of June, a very successful reading month. I feel very pleased about it. I hope that you read some good books in June. Please let me know down in the comments below what the best book was you read in June, and I will talk to you later.